Your body is created from a billion perfect vectors of goodness. Your speech satisfies the yearning of countless sentient beings. Your mind perceives all objects of knowledge exactly as they are. I bow my head to you, O chief of the Shakya clan. You are the most excellent sons of such peerless teacher. You carry the burdens of the enlightened activity of all conquerors, and in countless realms you engage in ecstatic display of emanations. I pay homage to you, O Maitreya and Manjushri. So difficult to fathom is the mother of all conquerors. You who unravel its constants as it is are the jewels of the world. You are held with great fame in all three spheres of the world. I pay homage to you, O Nagarjuna and Asanga. Stemming from these two great charioteers with excellence, are the two parts of the profound view and vast conduct. You are the custodian of the treasury of instructions encompassing all essential points of these parts without error. I pay homage to you, O Dipamkara. You are the eyes to see all the myriad collections of scriptures. To the fortunate ones traveling to freedom, you illuminate the excellent path. You do this through skillful deeds forth by compassion. I pay respectful homage to you, O all my spiritual mentors. I bow down to the mother of the conquerors of the three times, the perfection of wisdom inexpressible by words or thoughts, which is unproduced and unseized like an entity of the sky, the object of the wisdom of unique knowledge. Teyatha kate kate parakate parasamkate puti soham. Teyatha kate kate parakate parasamkate puti soham. Teyatha kate kate parakate parasamkate puti soham. May all negative force opposed to Dharma be completely pacified. May the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified. May we be separate from problem and harmful conditions to Dharma. May all enjoyment by in accord with the Dharma. And may there be auspiciousness and perfect happiness here right now. By the knower of all, hearers seeking pacifications are lead to peace. By the knower of parts, those benefiting migrating beings accomplish the work of all the world, work of the world. By the perfect possessions of it, the subduer teach the verities possessing all aspects. To these mothers of the Buddhas, together with a host of hearers and bodhisattvas, homage. He who taught dependent origination, no cessation and no origination, no inhalation and no permanence, no coming and no going, neither different nor same. These through common climbing of conceptual elaborations to you who is supreme speaker among all fully enlightened Buddhas, I pay homage. Mandala offering. Oh, I she be ji, so she I me to Tama lovely she ni de I body sa I she do me I be wa ro I nama la je pa so idam guru ratna bendala kamye yata ya mi. A refuge and bodhicitta. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulations I create through teaching to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulation I create through teaching the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulation I create through teaching the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Impulsed by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel the perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I make prostrations. Namo lai keta luta nijin je topon tata mi kesan to towa kunje tana chisam tamje ke to taji chue to ranja sonra kun la tawe mi kesan taba tupe chungu cho tsewe chungu ta ke tsebai se ze shinyi nam la kube tu. So we are in stanza 31, right? Concentration. Something similar on your capote, Sana Yumi Ri Wambushin. Tana Kiwi Mikwa Kunlachu. Lusim Lesson Ruby Techenten. Letter Shen Nature Ombonam. Nam Ye Trachum Tingzi Junto Ten. Nature Neta Namle Titarki. Tatu Kekang Tishin Jangse Laws. Concentration is the king that reigns over the mind. When left, it is as unwavering as the king of mountains. When set forth, it engages with all objects of virtue. It endues the great bliss of a serviceable body and mind. Knowing this, the great accomplished yogis constantly apply meditations, destroying the enemies of distractions. I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation too should do likewise. So this, what you call the stanza is talking about the perfections of concentration, or the perfection of concentration. I mentioned last time, among the 6 parameters, the concentration and the wisdom, the perfection of wisdom, are the 2 most kind of the important practice. The perfection of concentration and perfection of wisdom. So today is the perfection of concentration. It's mainly the concentration, I think that mainly is talking about the shamatha practice. The shamatha is called the karma biting. So shamatha or the karma biting, the practice. So here he says concentrations is the king that reign, right? Reign over the mind. Right now, our mind is undisciplined. It's wild, right? It goes everywhere. We cannot control them. So if you learn the concentration, so the concentration will help to control your mind. That's what it's called. It's the king that reigns over the mind, right? It's like a power your mind can discipline. So it's very, as a practitioners, you know, when, practicing Buddha Dharma, which means to achieve the realization, right? That's how the practicing means. Practicing means to achieve each of this realization, right? So because when you achieving the realization, so your realization will combat, antidote to your distracted emotions, your mental afflictions, which are the fundamental causes of your sufferings, right? So in order to achieve the realizations, first, realizations are part of consciousness. It's the mind, right? It's awareness. So in order to achieve each of these realization, first you need to fully discipline your consciousness, your mind. So if your mind is fully disciplined, like a focused, then it's become so powerful. Any practice, when you do it, it becomes more effective, more success, more easier to achieve because your mind is so powerful, fully concentrate. Otherwise, when mind is so, what you call the wavering everywhere, right? It's hanging everywhere. Then it's very hard to achieve each of these realization because your mind is too weak, right? It's wild. So that is why, in order to make your mind discipline, power, you need to cultivate the power of concentration, samatha meditations. That's why I say concentration is the king that reign over the mind, reign over the mind. When left, it is as unwillingly as the king of mountains. When your mind is left to any objects, right? When you leave to any objects, that mind will remain unwillingly, right? So your mind is usually obstructed by dullness and mental excitement, right? So these are the two makes your mind vividly hanging everywhere. So here is a when you learn your concentration, when your mind left on the objects is unvividly remain on the objects like a king of mountains, like a Mount Meru, right? Usually we call Mount Meru. It's solid, absolute. Nobody can, move. Nobody can able to move to the Mount Meru. It's a very solid, like that kind of mind. Remain in the objects unwaveringly, like a king of mountains, like a Mount Meru. When set forth, it engages with all objects of virtues. So when your mind wants to send it, wants to focus, for instance, wants to focus on emptiness, it will remain absolutely on that objects. So this is called object of virtues. So object of virtues, any realizations, the object, right? So in order to generate renunciation, when your mind, when you achieve the shamatha, your renunciation, in order to renounce all the samsara pleasures, you can able to focus on you know, the suffering of samsara. You can able to fully concentrate on the liberation, which is freedom of your mental afflictions. So then when you meditate, it becoming more faster, much easier to achieve the renunciation because your mind is undestructible, remain very solid there. So that's why when set forth, it engages with all object of virtues, right? All object of your meditation objects, it will remain there solidly. It induced the great bliss of serviceability, serviceable body and mind. So it induced the great bliss. The shamatha meditation, right? The shamatha is the one induce. create, brings physical bliss and the mental bliss, right? And also it's called physical body pliancy and mental pliancy. So it's called serviceable body and mind, right? So uh, most of you know the shamatha practice. Now, how should we do this shamatas and all the detail? Most of you been study, been take this London teaching many times, and also the I think the foundation state or the intermediate state or something. We're also talking about this shamatha. So mainly the great bliss shamatha, the karma bhaitic, when you achieve the shamatha, you know, you will achieve the first physical and the mental pliancy, right? After those pliancy means visibility, right? Your mind, your body becoming, like for instance, your body becoming so light, you feel like I can fly, like that kind of light, when you achieve the shamatha. So that body pliancy create body physical bliss, right? Body gets some kind of bliss, the joy. Same, the mental pliancy means the mind during the meditation, you never feel tired, you never feel some kind of, laziness. So you enjoy with your meditations, never ever feel tired or uncomfortable. It's called the mental pliancy. After you achieve the mental pliancy, then mental bliss. So after when you achieve the mental bliss, then your concentration becoming shamatha. But until that, it's not shamatha. It's maybe close to the shamatha, but not perfect shamatha. That's why it's called it induce, right? That concentration will induce the great bliss of body and mind, of a serviceable pliancy of the body and mind, right? That's that concentration, what you call the create this, induce this, then you achieving shamatha. So this is showing what is the benefit of concentration, right? This stanza, it reigns over the mind. It will remain on the object like unwaveringly, like a king of mountains, and it's engaging with all the objects of your virtues, whatever the objects of your meditation, when you focus, there's no any obstacle. You can remain on that objects for hours and hours without any distraction, without any feel tired, anything, right? And this concentration also brings you physical and mental bliss and physical and mental pliancy. So all of this benefit, the shamatas meditations benefit. Then now next answer is the 32, knowing this, the great accomplished yogis constantly apply meditation, destroying the enemies of destruction. So, knowing this, the great accomplished yogis. So, this second 32 stanza is how to practice the concentration, right? 31 is the benefit of shamatha, right? In 32, how to practice shamatha, how to achieve shamatha. So knowing this means understanding all the benefit of shamatha, right? The great accomplished yogis, the yogis, the practitioners, right? Who, what you call who constantly applying meditation, destroying the enemies of destruction. So who constantly meditating on shamatha to destroy the enemies of the destruction. Mainly the shamatha meditation, the main enemies, there are two, but the general, when you cultivate shamatha, according to the Maitreya Buddha, all of these things important to know, it's not just simple small text. You need to go all the way source, right? So the Maitreya, the ornament of sutra, I think the Maitreya's text, not ornament, what do you call? The extreme of middle way, right? The extreme of middle. So extreme of middle by Maitreya, he says, when he introduced the shamatha, he talked about the 5 faults, 5 obstacles, right? Nyeba ngabung dijike in the text called Nyeba ngabungs, abandon the 5 faults, right? Then, in order to abandon those 5 faults, you apply 8 antidote attitudes, right? Through the 8 antidote attitudes, you can combat the 5 faults or 5 disadvantages, 5 obstacles, sorry. So 5 faults, first, lelo, which is the laziness, right? Then second, forgetfulness. Then third, mental excitement and what you call the mental thinking, right? Dull. So mental thinking and mental excitements. Then fourth, non-application, and fifth, over-application. So these are the 5 faults where the Maitreya introduced. The first fault is laziness. So laziness obstruct you, obstacle which comes first. So when you have lazy, right? When you are lazy, then you will not going to meditate at all. You're lazy, right? So the laziness is there. Your door is shut down, completely shut down the door. You're not going to enter to the meditation. So the first, our obstacle is laziness. So, majority, we don't have time to go too detailed, but they just give you little information. Laziness, when he introduced the laziness, have different types of the laziness. One laziness, do not wants to do anything, do not wants to practice at all, right? Do not wants to concentrate, meditate, first laziness. Another laziness, there's something important, right? But you always keep excuse, oh, I want to do that, but I have to take care of my children. I have to go with my business. I have to do this. I have to do that. As the monks and nuns, I want to meditate, but I have to take care of my temple. I have to clean this. I have to do this. Then you have a more thing. You have to spend more things to this. You don't have time to do the practice sometime, right? So it's not only for the lay practitioners. Lay practitioners has excuse of their business and families and jobs and so forth. Same time as the monks and nuns, the audience, sometimes they also have excuse of, oh, I need to run the temple, I need to do this, I need to do that, take care of my temple, too big, blah, blah. You don't have time to do meditation. That's the second type of the laziness. You choose these mundane things instead of meditations, right? Then the third, some kind of meditation, oh, this is not for us. This is for the great practitioners, for the lay practitioners. Oh, these are the monks and nuns can do. We cannot do this practice. We have to take care of many things. So you always put down yourself. Always somebody else can do. Within the monks and nuns, you can say, no, these are the monks who can live in the solitary, in the caves, who have nothing to do with it. They can do, not for me. I have to take care of my temple. I have to run there. I have to serve to the people, blah, blah, blah. So kind of make yourself, kind of always be excused. So all these kind of things are the laziness, first obstacles. As long as laziness there, you never ever achieve any realization. Nothing, because you not meditate, you're not practicing, right? Not meditating, not practicing, How can you achieve? It's impossible. You know, sometimes it is, we misunderstanding. I quite oftenly saying that, sometimes we need to understand. Point is practicing, which means to achieve the realization, right? Karma realization. Your realization will take you to the Buddhahood. Another word is your realization can combat to your mental afflictions, your ignorance, which are the causes of your suffering. Practicing karma, which means what that means? That means to achieve this realization. Practicing on achieving, right? Practicing on achieving each of these realization. Always we should think that way, right? We do have some kind of branches practice, root and the branches. Branches are the 6 preliminary practice, with accumulating merits, virtues, and removing obstacle, right? Mentioned earlier, the 6 preliminary practices, which focus on accumulating merits. That's why prayer, reciting mantra, offering, prostration, all kind of things we're doing. 7 limb practicing, right? Rituals and all this. This helps to accumulate merits, virtues, helps to removing obstacles. But these are not the practice. These are the not main. Main practice is to achieving the realization. Something need to achieve inside this mind, right? So we need to really understand practicing karma, which means you are practicing to achieve the realization. So the prayers and all kind of things we're doing, removing obstacles, these are we doing because in order to achieve each of these realization, we have to have merits, enough merits. Not enough merits, we're not going to achieve this. If there's so many obstacles, even you put so much effort, these obstacles always obstructing us to achieve each of these realization. That is why praying, offerings, all kind of ritual we're doing, it's one of the purposes. It's called removing obstacle and accumulating merits. These are the branches, right? After that, the main goal is achieving here. Something change your mind, right? That's where we should focus. So therefore, in order to do that, laziness is the first obstacles, right? Then to get rid of laziness, Maitreya's use 4 antidotes, attitude. First, faith. Faith here, this faith with what that means? That means you're really understanding the benefit of shamatha, how to practice the shamatha. You're really understanding, all these shamathas, the full package. Through that, you have 100% believing these shamatha will huge benefit to yourself, to others. That kind of faith, which call, you believing this, that faith comes after you study, after you investigate, contemplate, research, right, about the shamatha. Then when you have 100% kind of we call the determination, believe on the shamatha, that's called the faith. So faith helps you to cultivate the aspiration, right? Aspiration. When you have 100% belief, that aspiration, your aspiration to practice the shamatha yourself. Aspirations helps to cultivate effort. You have aspiration, then you put effort. You sit on the cushion. You stay there, you're meditating, you're practicing. That's the effort, right? So this effort comes from aspiration. Aspirations come from faith, right? Faith comes from understanding the shamatha, the benefit of shamatha. So without study, it is impossible. right, to achieve any of these things. So study is the key factor, very important. So when you know that when you got effort, then you sit on your meditation cushion, then you're able to practice. Your effort will directly antidote to your laziness. When when you got that effort, then your laziness will disappear. You can able to fight to your laziness. You can able to put your time to the practice. You can able to make yourself, available to practice the dharma, right? So that's why Maitreya says faith, aspiration, effort, and the last one called pliancy. The pliancy comes later. It's after the result. When you got shamatha, then pliancy achieved. But mainly, these three are the main antidote attitude to your laziness. So everybody should think, what kind of obstacle I have? Laziness, if you have laziness, you should go step by step. First, I really need to study on benefit of samatha. What kind of benefit? Why it is important? Why we need this samatha meditation, right? If I have, what is the benefit? All these things, study, look, ask the people, listen the teachings, till you got that full information. When you feel some kind of 100% believed, these shamatas, how important they are, advantages of shamatha. When you're 100% believing that, then that belief, the faith, helps to cultivate your aspiration, right? And aspiration helps to put effort. So when you're understanding that benefit of shamatha, then you need to think again every day. That's called meditate. Meditate on benefit of shamatha, right? Then upon there, think about precious human life and think about the death meditation. Or doesn't matter, even I own 100 temples as a monk. Even I own the 100 temples, I have to die. So to leave everything. If even I have thousands of students, but I have to leave everything. When you're going to leave those, the time of death is uncertain, right? So, I have to protect myself. When I'm dying, right? When I'm dying, my temple will not going to benefit to me. My student will not. My money will not. My reputation will not. Right? Only my mind. My realization is the one who will take, who will help you. Karma is the only. So therefore, I have to put my effort to practice the dharma, to meditate and achieve this, right? So benefit of shamatha practice, having precious human life, then meditate on death meditations, right? We went before 3 roots, 9 reason, 3 decision, right? Those death meditation. Do this, and that helps to aspiration, to cultivate aspiration. That helps to grow your effort, diligence, perseverance. So when you got that, achieve this perseverance and effort, then doesn't matter how busy you are, doesn't matter how many things you have to do, you always make time yourself to do the practice when you have effort. That's the effort to able to fight compared to your laziness, right? So then time C is the result of the shamatha. So these are the 4 antidote attitude which directly antidote to your laziness. Then second, you fight, you get rid of your laziness, you are on the cushion. Now you're meditating there, right? Then second obstacle will come. What is second obstacle? When you do shamatha meditation, you have to focus on one object, right? You have to fully concentrate on that one object. Either breath, either Buddha's body, or whatever, right? Any objects. You have to remain there fully concentrated. Then second obstacle is that object, sometime you will forget. Forget means you lose that object. Your minds either jump to something else, either your mind is so dull, cannot concentrate, it's too cloudy. It's called mental thinking. When your mind is too dull, you cannot tie to the object. Your mind cannot hold because it's too dull, right? Sometimes your mind is very active, but too much exciting. It jumps everywhere. So cannot able to remain that object. That's called forgetfulness. Second obstacle, forgetful. What forgetful? Your object of meditation. You're forgetting. Here, forgetting, what that means? Forgetting means you're losing that object. Object disappear. It's not there. You're not holding that object. You lost that object. Forgetfulness. That's the second, right? Even when you meditate, maybe a few seconds, you fully concentrate. After a few seconds, your mind is jumped. That object's not there at all, right? So that's why, in order to get rid of that forgetfulness, mindfulness. Keep your mindfulness. Mindful, what that mean? Mindfulness, which means be aware that object. That's called mindful. Be mindful on the object of your meditation means you be aware on object of your meditation. Hold your object of meditation. Hold it, grasp, right? Apprehend that object. That's called mindfulness. So number 5, right? The mindfulness who antidote to the forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is number 2, the obstacle number 2, forgetful. Mindfulness is the end among the 8 antidote attitude, right? Mindfulness number 5, who compared to the second obstacle, forgetfulness. Then next, when you are able to concentrate on the objects, then slowly, sometime after a few seconds, your mind jump, right? Sometime after a few minutes, your mind becomes slowly lazy, means cloudy. It's become so loose, right? That's called mental thinking and mental excitement. So these two are the main obstacle. Actually, for the shamatha, main obstacle is mental thinking, mental excitement. So mental thinking, mental excitement, gross mental thinking, subtle mental thinking, gross mental excitement, subtle and very subtle. There are variety levels of mental thinking and mental excitement. But general mental thinking means your mind is so loose, cannot hold the objects, right? Dull, very dull. It's kind of the no power. It's kind of powerless, right? Cannot focus, cannot hold it. Mental thinking. Some subtle, very, very subtle mental thinking, you're still holding that, but there's still lack of intensity there. That's a very, it is saying subtle mental thinking is most difficult to identify. It's for the beginner, we don't have subtle mental thinking. Subtle mental thinking arises only when you get rid of your gross level of mental thinking. When you're free from gross level of mental thinking, then your subtle mental thinking will arise. The difficulty part is your mind is still on the objects. You're still aware, but there are little things, there are lack of intensity there. It's very hard to know. So that's why the Lama Tsongkhapa was saying, sometimes the shamatha meditator may make mistake. You may remain on subtle mental thinking stage, and because you are still on the object there, and may think this is a shamatha. Actually, you are remain on very subtle mental thinking. So sometimes too long stay there, then when you wake up from the meditation, your minds become little dull, not very active-minded. It's little kind of the less thinker or less active mind. It's called the dull. So that because of the shamatha meditation, you may not rely on shamatha. You are remain on subtle mental thinking, right? That's why it is very important to know. So anyway, this mental thinking, mental excitement has a very gross to very subtle. So these obstacles started, when you concentrate, when you sit on the shamatha, on your meditation cushion and concentrate, then these obstacles will arising. So you need to deal. There are many layers of that. You need to deal with each of those mental thinking and mental excitement, right? That is why the concentration, I think Arya Asanga, or who divided within that concentration, there are the 9 stages of the concentration, right? 9 stages of the concentration, from beginner to all the way to the shamatha. It's not just one day you get it. So from beginner to shamatha, you have different stages of the concentration. So they're called 9 different stages of the concentration, finally to achieve shamatha, right? So we don't have time to go detail. It's in the Shama, what you call it, in the Lamrim Chemo, they have a detailed information. So, but in order to get rid of mental thinking and mental excitement, what the antidote attitude? It's called introspection, right? Introspection, which means alertness or vigilance. It's always monitoring. So when you meditate on like an object of your meditation, one part of mental factors who look, are your mind is on the objects or it's not. Sometimes even in the objects, but it's really kind of be fully aware or cloudy mind. So everything they're monitoring, introspections. So as soon as when they're seeing, as long as like maybe mental excitement, your mind is jump, or any little thought arises, you immediately recognizing that, right? Knowing there's a thought, destructive thought arising helps you to not take over you. Some kind of thoughts, you can cut it directly. Know that you've completely stopped, focus on your object. Some kind of thoughts, when you try to cut it, it becomes more aggressive. It's more difficult. It makes more thoughts. If this is the kind of what you call issues for you, then it is saying, don't stop these thoughts. Just let them alone there. What arises, you recognize, but don't react it, right? Don't follow, don't judge to them. Your mind is just come back and live in your breath. If you're doing the breathing meditation, your mind just remain on the breaths. So thought comes and it's go back, right? Comes and goes. So sometimes when you try to stop them, it become more aggressive. So there's a variety way to stop. In the Vinaya tradition, it just straight stop. They use. But some Mahamudras in the tradition, they say, oh, just thought calm. You just look at these thoughts and don't react it. Don't judge to them. And then they themselves, melt it down. So you don't need to react anything to them. So there's a variety way. Sometimes when the thought arises, you just look at these thoughts, that mind. And the nature of that thought is also awareness, right? This awareness. So it's same nature, it's awareness. So you aware the thought awareness on that, is that thought will disappear. It's kind of the variety skill methods how to deal with each of these mental excitements, right? Then mental thinking is the mind itself becomes too laxity, too cloudy, too loose. Then you have to build it. You have to improve mind, make more fresh, right? To build that intensity of the minds. So these are introspections will help to overcome that. Then non-application and over-application is not that much. Non-application is, if you not apply the antidote attitudes, then if you not apply the your antidotes during the meditation, then when this obstacle arises, they will take over you. A non-application, you have to apply the antidotes. Always check. Over application, when your mind is fully concentrated and remain there, then if you check it again overly, it will disturb your concentration. So over application is called non-application. Don't need to apply, just leave it their way. So it kind of all of this comes with through your experience. But that is why mainly those 5 obstacles, understand, mainly the dullness and mental excitement, right? These 2 obstacles. And for the beginner, laziness also, right? So these 5 obstacles and 8 antidote attitude, that's how you use to overcome each of these 5 obstacles, right? And then when you're through the meditation, you can remain for a few seconds, then few minutes, right? Without obstacles. Then slowly improve. Few minutes and longer. That's how 9 different stages of the concentration, and you can achieve that. After the number 9, then the 9 different concentration. Actually, it is called the mental placement. First, second called continuous placement. The third, page placement. These are the 3 for the very beginners, right? So the mental placement is very first beginner. Just you sit there, mind constantly jumps, right? So the mental, what you call the you feel like there's so many distractions. You feel like when you meditate, looks like it's arising more destructive thoughts. You feel like that. Actually, it is not. You recognize your destructive thoughts are oftenly arising. The first. Then slowly, less destructive thoughts, but still remain on the object. Distraction is the much more than remaining on the objects, the times. Then third, page placement, remain an object longer, distraction is less, right? So it's called recognizing your destructive thoughts. Then eventually your destructive thought will becoming tired. Then slowly, your destructive thought will become exhaustion, right? That's how your mind's growing more. Then fourth, close placement, which is the gross level of mental excitement, mental sinking, you are fighting to them. Then subduing, number 5, the subtle mental, gross level of mental excitement, you removing. Then complete place specification, single point of concentration, balance placement, number 9. So each of them has, I think the number 4, the gross level of mental sinking and mental excitement. You are cleaning gross level of mental sinking, mental excitement. Number 5, I think your gross level of mental sinking, you're purifying. Then number 6, subtle mental excitement. Number 7, subtle mental sinking. Then number 7 and 8 or 9. I think the number 7, you don't have gross and subtle mental thinking, both, but you have to put still very constantly effort. Number 7, right? Then number 8, you don't need to apply the effort constantly. Just beginning of the meditation, strong effort, then you can able to remain on the object. Number 9, no effort. Spontaneously, you can able to focus. After that level, when you got it, then you constantly meditate. Eventually, you slowly, what you call the achieving, what you call pliancy, right? The pliancy. First, mental pliancy. Then next, physical fluency. Then next, physical bliss. Then the last, mental bliss. When you achieve that, then shamatha. You achieve that shamatha. Till that, not the shamatha. So that's how the shamatha practice is, to achieving. I just give you just simple information, they're not detail, but the mainly, the concentration is where we need to improve. Our quality of the concentration is mental stability, mental clarity. These two we need to improve. Stability on the objects. And same time that mind need to be very clear, clarity, right? So in order to remain clarity and stability, the main obstacle, dullness. Mental thinking obstruct to clarity of the mind. Mental excitement, monkey mind, obstruct to stability of the mind. That is why mental thinking, mental excitement. Another word, dullness, right? And monkey mind are the main obstacle. Because mainly when you say concentrate, shamatha means mental stability and clarity of the mind, right? To improve this. That's why these two obstacles obstruct. So in order to get rid of these two obstacles, what we need to do, we need to use two tools: mindfulness, introspection, right? Mindfulness and introspection are the tool, like a weapon, who can able to overcome these two obstacles, mental thinking and mental excitement, right? Through mindfulness, which means be mindful on the object of meditation. Introspection or alertness, which means always be monitor, right? Through that, you can improve your stability of the mind and the clarity, not just stay on the object, the mind itself remain very vivid, clear vividness. So that need to improve. So when you're doing the every morning shamatha meditation, you need to really try to improve this, at least 10 minutes or 15 minutes, just shamatha. Focus on the breath or anything. When you focus there, your mind will fully aware the object of that breath, and same time the mind itself need to be clear, vivid, intensity, not lazy loose mind, but a clear intensity, and fully remain on the objects, right? Then when this obstacle arises, then you need to work with a different variety way to deal with each of these obstacles. So okay, that's maybe enough now. We don't have time. So now next, maybe I'm going to read this concentration chapter stanza again in Tibetan. I think some of them comes just late. You missed this. Something similar. Onjuru gyobote shana yuni ri wangboshi tangna gibe mikwa kunla chuk lisim lesu rungwe dejen tense. In Tibetan, English, concentration is the king that reigns over the mind. When left, it is an unwavering as the king of mountains. When set forth, it engages with all objects of virtue. It induces the great bliss of the serviceable body and mind. 32. Tetarshine nature ombo nam ye ta chum tingzin gyuntu ten nature nyeja nyamne tetarki patu chechang deshin tangzelo. Knowing this, the great accomplished yogis constantly apply meditation, destroying the enemy of destruction. I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation too should do likewise. So to do this, constantly apply meditation, destroying the enemy of destruction, you need to know first these things, right? Without understanding on this shamatha's practice, it's very difficult to meditate, just sit, simple breathing like that. It just reaches very little level, So that's why thoroughly study on these things. And Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Choma is very detailed, right? And based on Maitreya's teaching, like extreme of middle, and the Arya Asanga's teachings, and also the Kamaleshila. The Kamaleshila is the student of the Shanta Rakshita, right? 8 centuries. So he wrote a text called Gomrim, means the stages of the meditation. All these texts are available in English, the stages of the meditations. It's very good. So these are the source, the texts. And upon there, Lama Tsongkhapa's his own commentaries, right? So when you know the source coming from this, it's more reliable. There's a reliable source there. It's not somebody just make it or something, right? So that's why it's important. So then next 33, Sero Samiti Nitawe Mik, Sibe Tawa Tone Jimbelam, Sura Kunle Nabe Yunenter, Timu Mese Dreme Chotota, Tedarshene Tato Kebai, Lamde Beba Dume Kevatse, Nature Nyajan Yamlin Tedarki, Tato Kejan Dishin Jangse Law. Wisdom is the eye that sees the profound suchness. It's the path eradicating cyclic existence from its very root. It is a treasury of higher qualities that are praised in all scriptures. It's known as the supreme lamp, dispelling the darkness of delusions. Knowing this, the learned ones who aspire for liberation endeavor with multiplied efforts to cultivate this path. I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation too should do likewise. So this is the last perfection, the perfection of wisdom, which is the one of the most important, right? Among the 6 paramita, perfection of wisdom is the most important practice. So here saying wisdom is the eye that sees the profound suchness. So wisdom, the perfection of wisdom is like an eye, can see. What they see the ultimate truth, the suchness, the profound suchness of phenomena. We sentient beings suffer because we don't see, right, the ultimate truth of all phenomena. We have completely misunderstanding, right? Wrong perceptions. It's called ignorance. So that misperception, the wrong consciousness, create all our mental afflictions, delusions. That's how we circle in samsara, right? Circling in samsara by our ignorance. The main ignorance is called mind of self-grasping, mind of ego-grasping. It's very, very important for the Buddhist practitioner need to really understand that, because number of the Buddhists is not getting this, not understanding this. So they do only small thing I mentioned earlier, right? Just simple prayers, only focus on these things. Even go to the retreat, just focus on the number of the recitation of mantras or something. Here it is saying, wisdom is the eye that sees the profound suchness. It is the path eradicating cycle existence, samsara, cycle existence, which is samsara, right? From its very root. So wisdom, which is the wisdom what? Wisdom who understands the ultimate reality. Profound suchness, it's called wisdom of emptiness, right? Who this path, wisdom of emptiness is the path eradicating samsara, cycle existence from its very root. Very root means the root of the cycle existence, samsara, is mind of ego grasping, self-grasping, the ignorance, is the root, right, causes of samsara. Wisdom is the only can eradicate, can cut that root, not anything else. Only the wisdom of emptiness, wisdom of understanding the profound suchness, only can eradicate it, right? So that, as a Buddhist, it's really important to know that. And how we circle in samsara, why I'm still not liberating from samsara, right? We've been circled in samsara since beginning last time to till today. It's countless of the life. We've been circled in samsara within, 6 realms, hell realm, honey ghost animals, human, gods, and demigods. It's the 6 realms. Sometimes we done a little bit good, many good karma. We born into human and god and demigod realms. Sometimes we accumulate so much negative karma, we fall down into 3 lower realms. So sometimes go high, sometimes go down. It's like a roller coaster, constantly. We've been doing this roller coaster in samsara since beginning last time. Imagine, it's countless time. Who told that? Who put it there? The root causes mind of ego grasping. As long as this root causes is there, doesn't matter, we still circle in there. When you're not cut that, then you will still circle. So that's why who can able to cut that root? Wisdom, who understanding the profound suchness. That's the only the wisdom can cut that. Therefore, say wisdom is the eye that sees the profound suchness. It's the path. That wisdom is the path who will eradicating cyclic existence, samsara, from its very root, right? From the root, it will cut it. Its treasury of higher qualities that are praised in all the scriptures, all the Buddhist scriptures, mainly Prajnaparamita Sutras, right? There's so much praise to that wisdom. For instance, today when we read this, the text, before we start the practice, the prayer we read it here, I bow down like a homage verse to the profession of wisdom, right? We reciting that. I bow down to the mother of the conquerors of the 3 times. The profession of wisdom. What is the mother of the conquerors? Profession of wisdom, right? Wisdom of understanding the ultimate. Inexpressible by words and thoughts. Emptiness is inexpressible by words, right? You cannot describe, it's not describable by words. It's also not by your thoughts. It's beyond there. Cannot able to do that, which is unproduced, unsees, like an entity of the sky. Emptiness is nature, right? Ultimate nature. Nobody produce, never sees. It not produced, no created by causes condition. It never sees, right? It's called unproduced, unsees. This is nature. So entity of the sky, it's empty. It's not solid there. The object of wisdom of knowledge, unique knowledge. That's how they praise, right? They praise. I think this one stanza is written by Rahula. I think the Rahulas, the Buddha's son, Rahula, right? So finally he became a monk and he achieved the Arya, what you call the 4 destroyers, right? So Arhat path. So I think that's from him. So he praised to, like, not only that, even Prajnaparamita Sutra itself, so much praise, praise to this, profession of wisdom. It's the one of the best, our savior. Finally, who can save us? perfection of wisdom is the one who can save us, right? We take refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, right? Among these three main refuge objects, it is the Dharma, right? Among the Dharma, main Dharma is perfection of wisdom. It's the main your saver, because your mind of ego grasping is the one hold you to the samsara, right? Create all these destructive emotions. So your mind of ego grasping, who can stop that? Who can cut? Your wisdom of emptiness, right? There's no any others. So finally, who can save you? Your wisdom of emptiness. It's the saver. So that's why it is saying it's tertiary treasure, like of higher qualities. There are praise in all the scriptures, right? That's how Buddha praised this. It's very important, high quality, huge benefit, one of the best our saver, right? It's known as the Supreme Lamb, dispelling the darkness of delusion. So this wisdom of emptiness is the Supreme Lamb. It's like a lamb who can dispelling all the darkness. So wisdom of emptiness is like a lamb who can dispel all your ignorance, darkness of your delusion. All your mental afflictions can dispelling by wisdom of emptiness. So that stanza is talking about the benefit of the wisdom of emptiness, right? Then the second 34, knowing this, the learned one who aspire for liberation endeavor with multiply efforts to cultivate this path. That's why understanding, knowing this, understanding the benefit of wisdom of emptiness, learn one, the bodhisattvas, right? The practitioners, learn ones who aspire for liberation, who wants to achieve the liberation, endeavor with multiply effort, constantly put the effort to cultivate this path, wisdom of emptiness path, right? They study, learn, meditate, constantly meditate on emptiness. I, a yogi, the Lama Tsongkhapa himself, a yogi, the practitioner, yogi means have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation too should do likewise. If you want to achieve liberation, you should also practice like this. So this is called the wisdom. So now, here, this philosophy called emptiness is one of the most unique, profound knowledge first discovered by Buddha Shakyamuni, right? Is the first. Then he teach this knowledge to his disciple. When he taught in what you call the Vulture Peak in Rajgiri in India, second wheel of Dharma, right? He teach this philosophy, emptiness philosophy. And there are the text called the Prajnaparamita Sutra, the text, which extensive version, middle version, medium, and then short versions, right? That's three differences. Extensive version has 100,000 stanzas. The medium version has 20,000 stanzas. The short version has 8,000 stanzas. So he teach again and again, with a very detailed, extensive, then medium way, short, then the shortest one, Heart Sutras, right? Around 25 stanzas. So he's been teaching in this philosophy for so many texts, about this. Upon their Dharmakata Sutra, blah, blah, Sutra, all of these sutras, right? All of them are talking this philosophy. That's how we should understand how important this philosophy is, the emptiness. But it is very hard to understand. Some people in your past life, you may be in study, you may be listening this teaching, you have some kind of imprints of this philosophy from your past life. In this life, you can study directly, in middle way schools philosophy, you may understand. Some people who do not have any connection in this philosophy in the past may very difficult to understand. A number of people, when they study on this philosophy, you may fall into extreme nihilism. So instead of benefit, it may hurt you. It may create you sufferings. So it's had to be very skillful to learn. In order to learn these things, one very important thing is you have to have very skillful teacher who really understand this. Teacher is the first important part. Having really good teacher who knows this philosophy will help you, right? Instead of nothing, just textbook, it may be difficult. But some area, they do not have teacher. There's no any other choice. Then at least to read some commentaries and books at least helps. But why I'm saying this is here, Rahula says it's inexpressible, right? Emptiness is not describable just by word. So the word, it's on the scripture, on the textbook, many commentaries have these words there. But this word for you, what that means? Very difficult, because sometimes we use exactly the same word, but when you interpret on this word, different meaning behind there. So the detail is you cannot describe by words. There's not enough word to describe this. That's why you need skillful teachers listening this again and again. Then meditate. Then not only that, final to fully experiencing on emptiness, study, meditations, listening alone is not enough. You also need to accumulate merit and virtues. You need to purify the obstacles. So preliminary practice with Guru devotion practice. Huge impact, huge benefit for experiencing this philosophy. So this philosophy, when they, because it's very difficult to understand, that's why when they teach this philosophy, Buddha used a very skillful way. First, he talked about the school in the Buddhists during that time, Buddha's time, they divided into 4 different schools. It was called Vaibhashika school in Sanskrit, which means great exposition school. Second called Sutra school, Swatantika school in Sanskrit, which is Sutra school, right? Then the next called the mind only school, which is in Sanskrit, Chittamatra, or sometimes they call Yogacara. There are few scholars, when they're explaining these 2 schools, some of them, Yogacara and mind only school, maybe they go to different way meanings. And some, that's individual scholars when they're explaining. For the Gelugpa tradition, Yogacara and mind, Chittamatra Yogacara is the same school with the same expression. Then the last one called Madhyamika school, it's called middle way schools, which is the highest Buddhist school. Among those 4 schools, when you go, they have subdivisions. Detail, there's lots of subdivision around there. So we don't need to, there is a book of the Buddhist tenets in our schools, the book there, they have a number of books by many masters, this each sub-schools have little different philosophy they're believing. So it's kind of good to study this, but the beginner who don't have that much time, sometimes it makes you very complicated, confused. But who really have time to study, these are very good to understand. But the point is, I think the turning the wheel of Dharma, right? Usually Buddha taught hundreds of thousands, right? Teach everywhere in India. And mainly they put it in the future, they put it like a three, turning the wheel of Dharma 3 times. First time, second time, third times. The first turning the wheel of Dharma, which is called Four Noble Truths, right, where he taught. So that time, it is saying he also taught the philosophy based on the Vaibhashika and Sautantika school's philosophy. He taught in Four Noble Truths teaching, the first turn the wheel of Dharma times. Then, second wheel of Dharma, the Pranjaparamita Sutras, right? I mentioned the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, which is the source, main source, the scripture of this Lamrim teachings come from that sutra, right? That's the source, Pranjaparamita Sutra. Pranjaparamita Sutra, mainly he taught middle way school's philosophy, middle way school's tenet. He taught in Pranjaparamita Sutra. Then the wheel of Dharma, the third wheel of Dharma, he taught the mind-only school's view in there. So these schools, the 4 schools, comes first, second, third wheel of Dharma. So mind-only schools, he taught in third wheel of Dharma. And also number of Vajrayana, the teachings also come from the third wheel of Dharma. It's there. So in Tibetan tradition, we follow among these 4 schools, all the 4 lineages, the Tibetan 4 different lineages follows middle way schools view. Middle way schools, Madhyamika Prasangika and Madhyamika Swatantika, middle way consequences school, middle way autonomy 2 subdivision. It follows middle way consequences schools is the highest. And general middle way schools, the main teacher is Nagarjuna, is the main teacher. He's the pioneer of the middle way school, right? Nagarjuna, around 2nd centuries. And his student, Aryadeva, they are the 2 master middle way schools followers, or the what you call practitioners, scholars, follow these 2 teachers, Nagarjuna and Aryadeva. It's whole middle way. Sautantika, middle way, Prasangika, all the students follow that, right? Then after that, then they split it up. So Buddhapalita, Chandakirtis, one side, the other side, Bhavaviveka, and then Chantarakshita and Kamalashila, I mentioned earlier, these are another sides. So middle way school, middle way consequences school, middle way autonomy. Consequences school's main teacher, Chandakirti, the engage to the middle way, with one of the source of philosophy texts we study. So then other side, autonomy side, Bhavavivekas and Shantarakshita, Kamalashilas, all of them. So even the Shantarakshita follows middle way autonomies, but he's and he's the first the Indian master who bring the Buddhism into the Tibet, right? But the Tibetan follows Chandakirti's philosophy. Now that's how we should understanding Tibetan Buddhism is not just one master come and follow his lineage only. When the Buddhism adopt from India, Tibetan situations are very different. They adopt whole institute, the Nalanda institutes, right? That system, whole concept adopted. That's why it's very rich. Why in Tibetan is very rich? It's not just one or two masters, their view, their lineage. See, they adopt whole, the what you call the concepts, the tenets, philosophy from the institutes. That's why even Santa Rakshita himself followed Madhyamika Swatantika, but Tibetans real practice middle way consequences schools, right? That's how we should understanding. So, oh yeah, these are not big important. So now here is a point is now we need to, what we need to learn. How should we learn emptiness? According to Lama Tsongkhapa traditions, right? First, we need to understanding, it's called everything's are imputed labels by mind. First, you need to know what that really means. Everything's are designated by your mind, right? By words. So you say, this is chair, or this is table, or this is in a tree, this is flowers. So all of these objects, when we see, for us, we don't see this is just label. We see we're right there. Chair is there, table is there, everything's from there. We never think this is just, we label it, right? We need to know first labeling things. Then mainly what we need to know, first thing is also it says we need to know the object of negation. What that means when we say emptiness, right? Emptiness, what that means? That means something exists, right? Something exists, thereby called emptiness, means something exists. So if there's nothing, anything, then we don't need to say emptiness. Emptiness means something there, but these things are empty of something else. So empty of what, right? So that's called object of negation. What we negating, that we need to know. Without knowing the object of negation, you cannot able to negate that object. Emptiness, which means empty of object of negation. If you do not know that object of negation, how can you negate it, right? So Lama Tsongkhapa was very emphasizing. First, you should learn, understand what is the object of negation. Go to the Lamrim Chenmo, right? Third volumes, very detailed, an object of negation overboardly restricting. They're not too small, too big problem, too small problem. There are lots of information around there. Mainly the object of negation means something. Now, if I go with a very simple way, something from object side without label by your mind. Now, what that means when you look at, like for instance, when you look it into the flower, right? When you look it into the flower, like for instance, this cup drop. So when you look into this cup drop, the cup drop is something there. We never see this cup drop is just label, right? It's from there. That which called object of negation means object something from its own side without labeling by mind, right? It's from there, from the object side. So that first you need to meditate, learn that, think, do you really see you grasping something, everything from the object side? You need to know you got, because we are grasping, object of negation, that things exist independently, but we do not know. We do not know we are grasping that. So that's our first object of negation, which means the object which is exists by themselves without designated or labels by your names and thoughts. It's something from there. So that you need to just, before you study emptiness, just learn that first, what that really means. For you, what that means, right? Right? The object was something from something from its own without label by names and word. What that mean? For your mind, how you say, now what do you think about that meanings? Describe that. So when you know the object of negation, then emptiness is much better to understand. Now, emptiness, which means that object of negation, you negate, it's not there. But still, for your mind, still still appearing, but it's not there. So not there, why? This reason, that reason. That's how all this reason you use to break down. But even you mentally, you break it down, your sensory consciousness still appear these things. So that is why that's very different between like a middle way autonomy school, for instance. Middle way autonomy schools believe their object of negation and middle way consequence of object of negation, two different, right? Autonomy system, planets, their object of negations not appear to your sense consciousness. Sense consciousness not seeing this, only your mental consciousness. But middle way prasankika, right? Even object of negations appear to even your sense consciousness. Your eye, when you see the flower, you see flower there, solid from the object side. So it's absolutely what you call, it's polluted. All your consciousness, fully polluted. So it's very difficult to stop because any consciousness you have, any perceptions, when they appear, the object always appear something from there, from the object side, right? That's why knowing that, then you visualize, if this is from the object side, like for instance, if this cough drop come from object side, then when they first create it, we don't need to label as a cough drop. It's already from the object side, have to be there, everything. We need to label as a cough drop till they becoming cough drop, right? We label it, then it's become cough drop. So you have to put something there. So if the things from there, you don't need to label everything's from there. So that's kind of even simple logic. And also saying if the cough drops really exist from the object side, then when you investigate, you have to find it from the objects. You go, this cough drop, it's put it like a detail, you go, it's ended up with the particles, right? Millions of particles, cough drops, particles there. Each of those, none of each of these are the cough drop, right? Even goes that. Gathering the cough drop is also not. Whether each of them nothing, gathering is also not. Collections of the cough particles. So when you go try to pinpoint, you cannot find cough drop from the object. It's nothing there. Like a picture you see in the computer, right? When you pinpoint, it's ended up to the pixels. Each of those pixels, you not pictures, right? So picture exists. Depend on each of these pixels there. Without those pixels, there's no pictures. When the pixel, each of pixel arises, not picture there. It's a very different. If something exists, yes, I can see these pictures there, photos on the screen. But to try to pinpoint and go and pinpoint, it's ended up to each of those pixels. It's disappeared, nothing there. So difficulty part is because it's functioning, right? If you say nothing, it's not nihilism because it's functioning. This flower is functioning. This human being's functioning. I'm functioning. There's something there. But try to pinpoint, it's not findable. So the very difficult is, it's almost like when you meditate, it's good to go like a completely non-exist first, like a nihilism part. If you go into like more into the nihilism, maybe it may helps, come back to the emptiness. So you're always scared to, I will fall down to the nihilism. So you're always holding something, you may be difficult to get to the emptiness. That's why maybe through the invest, eventually, oh, there's nothing, anything there, right? Oh, go to the nihilisms. Then slowly, it is nothing, but I'm still meditating. I'm there. It's functioning there. So when I really investigate, it's nothing there. So it's always almost non-existence. But the only they exist because it's functioning. That's all. Now that existence is just, there's no other choice. It's just label. The things functioning is labeled as a person or flower or something. There's nothing else, anything. So that's how, go to these kind of meditations. So today I'm not going with a very philosophy way. I try to go with more practical, how to practice, because number of times we've been talking about this emptiness, but the way should you start it first? Object of negation, right? Start it from there and try to understand what that means. So then almost go to the nihilism first. Like this really, this is nothing, anything, something, right? It goes that way. Maybe they have a chance to, come back to the emptiness. You always worry, oh, nihilism, that's not good. Then you're holding something. And that's you're holding absolutism. Absolutism is something there. You're holding that. So that's why to get rid of them, there's nothing to hold. It's almost like a nihilism. Doesn't matter even I become nihilistic. Doesn't matter I myself investigate. I go all the extremes. Then stay on that completely nothing. Then question, who's meditating now? Who's thinking this? Something else there? Oh, there might be a something. But through the investigation, there's nothing, anything. So only the choices is exist depend on labeling, right? Designated by names, thoughts. It's just there. There's nothing like anything solid from there. So that kind of the meditation is, I think, good to do. So I will going to stop here, stanza 34, and then next is the stanza 35 or 35 or 30. Yes, 35. Okay, next class will start stanza 35. So I think this now next are the mostly kind of the reason why we have to combine the shamatha and wisdom of emptiness together. Like another word is shamatha and vipassana. Why we have to use both, not only shamatha, not only vipassana, right? It's called union of shamatha and vipassana. So why we need to have both these two. So these are the next stanzas. Okay, we're going to stop here. Oh, it's already 8:34. So maybe I take one question if you have any questions. Oh, first I have to let you know but this is also the mentioned earlier, it's part of the oral transmission. So make sure you are not miss the words, here sometimes when you come late, then sometimes you miss the sentence, then the words, then you miss the text. So it's kind of the oral transmission, which means, from all the way to Buddhas and to the Lama Tsongkhapa, to your gurus, right? They teaching this like from directly you listen from next teacher to next teacher. It's called unbroken, the master's blessing, the oral transmission. That's why it's, I make sure don't late or something, right? Don't miss. If you miss, then you're missing the fully kind of the transmission. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thank you, Geshe-la. I have a question that I've wondered for a while. It makes sense to me when we look at the Vaibhashika, the Sotantrika, the Chittamatra, and the Madhyamaka, that it seems it's a further refinement or moving from a more gross to a subtle level understanding of emptiness. I'm wondering, you mentioned about the 4 different schools of Tibetan Buddhism. Is there any reason, if they all follow the Madhyamaka, is there any reason that there are 4 different schools? Or is it, as you said, that there's just different masters that came into, into Tibet from India and just created their own different schools? I'm wondering, is there any specific reason for the 4 different schools of Tibetan Buddhism, or is it just, is it just different masters that created the different schools?
No, this I mentioned earlier, all these 4 schools are, in the Buddha's time. So they already have these things. So when you bring the Nalanda is the institute, it's whole Buddhist, the teachings are available there, whole Buddhist, Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana. Within that, 4 schools. Within the Vajrayana, also 4 different kind of the schools they have. So all the teachings, the Buddha's teaching, they try to have available. This is the institute, you study there. It's like a college. You have this system there. So each individual practitioner, some they more suit with the Vaibhashika schools, parts, some of those more make sense to mind only, some middle way. That's the each different individuals. General Tibetan, when they adopt, I mentioned earlier, they adopt whole universities, systems. They try to adopt all of them to make available, to study them. But individually, some maybe they practice on Vipassana, some they may be mind-only schools, follows. Who knows? That's the individuals. They will not going to say, I'm this, I'm that, right? But they system, the teaching, they're available to make. Like in our monastery, we learn all these 4 schools tenets. Learning lower schools philosophy helps you to understanding upper schools view more clear, so that it's not just contradict each other's. It's mainly the lower schools philosophies views helps to understand the upper schools views. That's why the learning this in the all the monasteries, they learn that individually, wherever they put the practice, that's their decision. But the general in Tibetans, 4 lineage follows middle way schools view in general, 4 schools. But individual, who knows, right? But writing the book doesn't mean that master is follow the school system. One of the Vaibhashika schools main philosophy text is one of the texts called the Abhidharma. Abhidharma has 2, lower Abhidharma and upper Abhidharma texts. So upper Abhidharma is more talk about the mind-only school and little autonomy, mind-only and sutra schools. But the lower Abhidharma is mostly talk about the Vaibhashika school's view. So that lower Abhidharma, one of the texts written by Vasubandhu. Vasubandhu is himself, is the mind-only school's follower. He's the younger brother of Asanga. So one of the mind-only school scholar, but he write the, Vaibhashika school's philosophy in lower Abhidharma, based on Vaibhashika and Sautantika's view. Based on this view, he wrote this text. So the different masters can write these things. That doesn't mean they themselves, strictly follow this. It's kind of education they brings and helps to understanding the mind-only school's view, middle way school's view. That's why they study and studying like these philosophies.
Geshe-la, what about the Nyingma, the Sakya, the Kagyu, and the Gelug? What was the particular reason that those different schools were created if they all follow Madhyamaka?
Oh, Buddhism is not only philosophy. They have variety practice. They have a different, like a specific the Vajrayana. They specifically focus on the different deities, different lineage masters. So mainly the different lineage masters, arises with a different way. The Nyingmas, the master who came to Tibet is the one of the master Pema Sambhava. So the Pema Sambhava, from through him, number of the what you call the Dzogchens, he taught, and number of Nyingmas practitioners started from there. Then after 10th century around there, Marpa is the one of the great master who went to India to study. His teacher Naropa, the Mahasiddhi, and the Naropa's teacher Telopa, those from that lineage, and comes Marpa to Milarepa, and then Thapo Tarkin, Tapova, and then what you call number of master, comes from after that. That's called Kagyu tradition, right? So it's different lineage masters. The philosophy is the same, but the different emphasis on different style of the practice, like different deities, different blessing, different lineage. So that's how maybe they more emphasize on specific deeds practice and specific deities and a specific practice. So commonly they do all of them, but some of them specifically focus on this practice. They're more specialized on that. They write more things. They have a more detailed information on that. They spend more time to this practice. That's how each four difference have different focused on the different Vajrayanas practice. That's, I think, my understanding, but there might have many other different, different practice around there, variety. This is my understanding.
Would you say that some students are better suited to some particular schools of Tibetan Buddhism versus others? So maybe, for example, if someone had a more analytical mind and wanted to engage in debate, they may gravitate towards the Gelug. Whereas if somebody had a different particular mind and wanted to, practice Dzogchen, is it more whatever particular region you were born into or what resources are available that you would end up in a particular tradition?
Well, it's not. It's of course general. The Gelug tradition is more emphasized on a study, analytical meditations, philosophies, and they are more emphasized on that. Some tradition are more emphasized on the retreats, meditations, and general. Commonly, they all study. They're all doing debates. All the tradition, all the monasteries, Gelug, Saja, Nyingma, Kagyu, all of them have system of debates, retreat place, retreat they do, but certain things they're more emphasized, more on the retreat side. But this is not because of this. This is maybe how they, system they created. Otherwise, even the Gelug practitioner as a Gelug, but not that much study, who just go to the retreat and stay whole life in the mountains. As a Nyingma, who maybe more study in the individual, they do have these things. But it's just general where the system, that's the depend on the monasteries, and the masters where they create the monastery system. Some of them are focused more on debates, study, some of them are very emphasized on do some retreat place. That's the system after that monasteries they make it. But otherwise, that doesn't mean Gelug means always be debate and study and do. Nyingma means always be meditate. Is there's a Gelugpa who's not studied that much and do whole life in the retreats. There are Nyingma and Saita and Kagyu also have somebody who really study thoroughly and focus on very much analytical like that. Through that, cannot distinguish between Nyingma, Kagyu like that. It's a different lineage. They have a different lineage through that, mainly. And you've comes with the different lineages. Lama Tsongkhapa specific lineage come from the Atisha, specific from Atisha tradition. So the Atishas comes, that's how the Kadamba tradition started, from Atisha. right? Then Lama Tsongkhapa tradition Giluk, but it actually is called the New Katamba, but Katam Sarmawa. They use that in because the based on Atisha tradition, Lama Tsongkhapa added Giluk tradition that he added more profound, more philosophy on emptiness, more detail. He added, Vajrayana also very detailed. So it's make more kind of based on Adisha tradition, but he added upon their Vajrayana more details, specific Guya Samuja, philosophy and emptiness, where Lama Tsongkhapa himself is thoroughly sacrificed his life for emptiness to study those philosophy. So he added more on this. So that's how called New Katamba. It's kind of Giluks, that's how this lineage, I think, that's how they distinguish on these four different lineage. Okay, we're going to stop here. So finally do the dedication and reminding you, we are still in Sakadawa, right? Today is the 10th. So number 10th, special day, 8, 10, 15, these are the very special days. So today good things, this coincident that teaching is also in this Sakadawas of the 10th. And then it's good to remain, at least some of you, if you felt no problem, remain with more vegetarians. It's the good for at least, with a good intention. And then any small things, offering candlelight, do more prostration, then animal release are very, very good. I mentioned many times, so the fish and any animals, you just release them freedom for those like birds. We used to buy the birds and cage inside the cage, sit there, and then you release freedom to them. So these are good. And then the poor, the people who do not have foods or something, giving the foods, and any little virtues are good to celebrate this Sakadawa. It's mainly the main point is something benefit to others, right? At least not going to harm to anybody, but this month I will always think to benefit to something, directly, indirectly, whatever my behavior, the action I'm doing, try to benefit to others. And then if you do individual Nyungne practice, it's one of the best, practice in Sakadawa to make really good connection to the Buddha of compassion, Arya Avalokiteshvara is kind of one of the main deity of Mahayana, Mahayana practice. One of the main deity is the Arya Avalokiteshvara. So Nyungne practice are really powerful. So any practice, and if good, if you take every day Mahayana precept at least, first you have to take from your teachers, right? After that, every morning you can take it. It's Mahayana precept is very simple, very easy. Just keep the supper, and they 8 precepts they have. It's not that much difficult, but huge benefit. These only 24 hours precept. But whenever you take, you have to take before sunrise, right? It's the dawn before sunrise. You have to take this Mahayana precept. So these are also very good. Just remind you. Okay, now dedication prayer. Through these merits, may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the four of faults, and be delivered from samsara's oceans, cutthroat by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Samsara and nirvana lack even an atom of true existence, while cause and effect and dependent arising are infallible. I seek your blessing to discern the import of Nagarjuna's thought that these two are complementary and not contradictory. May the precious and sublime Bodhicitta not yet born be born, and that which has been born not decline, but increase forever. In the snowy mountain paradise, you are the source of good and happiness, powerful things in Gyatso generously. May you stay until samsara ends. Okay. Thank you.
Schönen
Have a good night.